Time to see the latest in the NFC playoff race heading into week 11. I'm powering through a family emergency, so we'll be a little brief. The calculations come from the Playoff Computer app. Check it out for your fantasy football leagues as we near playoff crunch time. For an entire year of geeky data, the premium level is about the price of one beer. The NFC has lost most of its lead in interconference games, which is relieving pressure on the potential for 10 wins to not be good enough for a wild card and leaving the door open for 9 wins to have at least half a chance. Moving on to look at each team, the team with the highest statistical chance to make the playoffs is still the Eagles and Packers. Treated us to a snooze fest, with the Eagles narrowly coming away with what was technically a win. With a huge lead in the NFC East, it is practically division or bust for them. They would be hard-pressed to lose enough to not win the division, but to not lose so many that they miss the playoffs altogether. They are one of the few NFC teams that the computer says 9 wins might be good enough, and that is basically to win the division. 10 wins would be safe. They face the Lions this week. Then what could about clinch the division next week against the Cowboys. The 6-1 conference record, along with some notable head-to-head wins, will help out if they need later for seeding. The Seattle Seahawks are also 7-2 after beating the Cardinals. Unlike the Eagles, that is not good enough for a runaway division lead, as the Rams are right there with them. They haven't played each other yet, but that will only last for a few more days. Battle for the division lead in Hollywood. Right now, the Seahawks have about an 86% chance. Should need 3 more wins to be safe. After the Rams, they get the Titans, Vikings, and Falcons, which should, in theory, help out. If they lose to the Rams, they do need to watch out, as they have the earlier head-to-head loss against the 49ers. And those Rams come in at number 3, beat the 49ers rather handily. That brought their division and conference records up to 500. Means they at least can't lose the head-to-head tiebreaker against the 49ers. Now set their sights on the Seahawks. Another tough game next week against the Buccaneers. Just need to find 3 more wins by the end of the season. The Buccaneers lost to the Patriots, but fortunately for them, the Panthers and Falcons also both lost, so their division lead remains semi-comfortable. Odds to win the NFC South around 7-10. Another team that would be unlikely to lose enough games to not win the division, but not too many to still be in the playoffs. Take on the Bills this week and the Rams next. So 2 tough opponents that could cause their rosy outlook to dim a bit, but those are the only 2 opponents in the remaining schedule currently above 500. So if there is one team that could absorb a 3-game losing streak, it be them. The Detroit Lions find themselves back on top of the NFC North thanks to a convincing win over the Commanders combined with the Packers' Monday night letdown. They do have the Bears sharing their 6-3 mark, but they currently own the tiebreaker, with the Packers inches away as well. So the division is still up in the air. Around 2 of 3 chances to make the playoffs. The big game against the Eagles this week. So they could find their front-runner status in jeopardy depending on what the rest of the division does. The Bears managed to snatch a win from the Giants. Gives them a 6-3 record, 4-2 in the conference. but looking unlikely that any of their head-to-head wins will be relevant. And they have a fairly brutal remaining schedule. The Vikings this week is one of only 2 teams they face with current losing records, so that pretty much makes it a must-win. The 49ers got trounced by the Rams to fall to 6-4 and now are a game and a half back in the division. They do enjoy a 6-2 conference record. That could be helpful come tiebreaker time if needed. They take on the Cardinals this week. Should be a winnable game. That could give them a 4-1 conference record, which would make it very difficult for them to lose the best in division tiebreaker against the rest of the division. Right now, just 13% to win the NFC West, close to 2 out of 3 to make the playoffs. The Packers find themselves in 3rd place in the NFC North after the loss to the Eagles. Still close to 6 out of 10 chances to make the playoffs. Only have 1 division game under their belt, so there is much opportunity in the division remaining. Play the Giants this week, which will be their last non-division NFC game of the season. Then Vikings, Lions, and Bears, which will probably settle a lot of discussions about who is going where. The Carolina Panthers gave us hope for an underdog and then took it away by being embarrassed by the Saints. 5-5 is not likely going to cut it. Now have a tough remaining schedule. Do get the Falcons this week, so a chance to breathe new hope into their fan base. Then a tough swing through some of the NFC West's finest. The Vikings lost to Baltimore. Sorry about that. The Vikings lost to Baltimore. Didn't help their chances. Now down to 23%. They'll need to beat the Bears this week to get back to even and stay in the race. If not, 4-6 would be tough to come back from. The Dallas Cowboys were on bye. 3-5-1 is unlikely to be playoff bound. Get the Raiders this week for one last rodeo. Maybe Arthur Smith wasn't the problem in Atlanta. Now riding a 4-game losing streak. Less than 1 in 10 chances to make the playoffs. Approaching must-win out territory, but not the toughest of opponents for the next 3. Panthers, Saints, Jets. So a chance to get back to 6-6 and at least be able to dream, especially if the Buccaneers having a tough stretch at the same time. Still could be interesting. The Arizona Cardinals are all but officially eliminated from the NFC West division title. They currently do not control their own destiny for a playoff spot, and they have a fairly tough remaining schedule. Not a recipe for success. The Commanders are in the same position. 3-7, 5-game losing streak, horrible conference record, 3% playoff chance. Play the Dolphins this week before their bye. I do not know if that is good news or bad news. The New Orleans Saints, despite their victory over the Panthers, are realistically out of the playoff race. While not technically eliminated, even if they were to win out, they would be unlikely to play in the postseason. A ditto on that for the Giants. who are getting close to actually being eliminated. That's it for now. Check out the Playoff Computer app for your fantasy or other league playoff race analysis needs, and enjoy your day.